Everybody, I'm Chris from B is for Build, and this year for SEMA, we went out on a limb. We took a very crashed supercar that is worth an absolute boatload of money, restored it, and gave it a cyberpunk theme to be our 2024 SEMA build. And this build was a huge success and also a huge failure, all in one. And I've got a lot of thoughts about it, and I'm gonna share them with you guys right now. So I walk into my shop after SEMA, and this is greeting me here, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, this car is incredible. What we were able to do, and I want to give you guys a good walk around because I realized that actually pretty much hasn't happened even now. What we were able to do with this build, with the cyberpunk theme, with packing in so much detail, was so highly appreciated at the show. From the little details on the rear diffuser, to lighting the fins, to the cyberpunk taillights, to the tactical lighting on the spoiler. One of my goals for this car was to basically pack in detail, custom detail that you wouldn't see in a standard Murcielago, every foot of the build. So every foot, if you were to take a slice out of it from the front to the back or the back to the front, between our custom wide body, and then you've got our custom side skirt vents, our custom side skirts, the door rivet panels, the roof scoop, what I've been calling crash patina on the roof, the custom mounted side mirrors, the front end wide body, the custom headlights, custom front lip extensions, lighting in the headlights, very subtle, and full-on custom headlights. It made it home without a scratch, except for, I don't know if this is a software or a hardware thing, one of our fin lights is out. That could be a software thing, I'm not really sure. But I knew if we were gonna do this and we were gonna pull off a big theme like cyberpunk, you have to pack in detail everywhere so people's eyes are just constantly inundated with cool, different stuff from, let's say, a standard Murcielago. Just wide bodying it wasn't going to be enough. Just adding lights wasn't going to be enough. We had to have a massive amount of detail. And it showed at the show. The #1 comment I got at the SEMA show was, I couldn't really see the end result that you were going for when we were in the shop, but now that I see it here at SEMA, oh my God, this is amazing. And that's actually something I love to hear. Because not only does it mean we did our job right, but it means that we had a vision that was kind of far enough out that people are actually kind of surprised when they saw the whole, where's the car? Right there. The whole picture. There's enough ins and outs to SEMA and building things for SEMA that I could talk about it absolutely forever, and I don't want to bore you with that, but one of the things that I think a lot of people don't know is that for us, usually the partnership of, I'm going to bring a car to your booth, so for instance with this one it was Airlift Performance, happens many months ahead of time. For us it happened 11 months before SEMA. We had the conversations and the acknowledgement that I'm bringing this Lamborghini to SEMA. If you remember, and we rewind back, the game plan was this Lamborghini Murcielago was going to be on a Tesla Model 3 chassis. I did some 3D scanning, and it really didn't look like it was going to be the glorious fit that I needed it to be. I didn't want to risk ruining such a rare, highly expensive car. So we changed the plan to keeping it stock motor, and that's when I said in my mind for sure I wanted to keep the engine bay clean and the interior clean, which we did a great job of. So we've committed to Airlift Performance. We're gonna bring a car to their booth. For me, the purpose of bringing a vehicle to SEMA is in partnership with the booth that you're in, and it's to draw attention, awareness, marketing, people, eyes, asses in booths for that brand. I'm not gonna get into the nitty-gritty of the numbers, but Airlift Performance spent more money to have their booth at that show than this car is worth. That is how expensive it is for a brand to be represented at SEMA. So I do not take that lightly. And when I tell somebody I'm gonna bring a badass car that people are gonna enjoy seeing, I mean it. And we have a reputation for that. Year after year, we put asses in booths. And I'm very proud of that. And here's where the interesting thing happened on this car and this build. So from the jump, I had this theme, I had this idea, we had this body kit designed, and I knew I wanted to make this what I call like a rough build. Whether it was gonna be apocalyptic or it was gonna be cyberpunk, I wanted to show the damage that was on this car one way or another. And that's why I thought if we throw it on a Tesla, it would be a whole crazy mashup of fun stuff and we'd have a great time building it. So when I realized the Murcielago wasn't gonna fit on the Tesla, I said, all right, let's change gears, let's keep it with the original motor, and let's keep building. And this is where I had a learning opportunity. I told you guys on film, we're gonna build it cyberpunk, we're gonna have fun with the design, we're gonna have fun with the build, and we're gonna use it, we're gonna test it, and then later on down the line, we're gonna make it all clean. And I don't know how after 9 years of building cars professionally, I could not know how much work was gonna go into this and was gonna go into that next 2 months to bring this car to where it was. But in my head, it was gonna be haphazard, rivet plates, this, that, throwing stuff on, easy peasy. We'll bust this thing out. It was not easy peasy. It was not haphazard. Building something to this theme actually for us really meant that we had to build it right once and then go back and mess it up, or add distressed signs or bullet holes in a quarter panel, or whatever the feature may be, the base of that feature still had to be building it properly. So we saved 0 time. We added tons of time, and we had what we thought was a slam dunk, easy to be rolling onto the transport in 2 months build, to not sleeping for so many days that it nearly broke me and Kyle. And during this build, Kyle and I actually came to an agreement about building cars under a deadline, building cars for SEMA, is from now on, if the car takes more than 5 days to complete, I think the perfect example is the R69 GTR. We finished that in a January. Nearly 10 months later, Koenig Wheels requested to have it in their booth. It took us about 5 hours of touch-up work, pretty work, before that car was ready to roll into SEMA. That's a great example of how we need to do things moving forward. The car needs to be done, sitting here, ready to roll, less than 5 days of mods or changes or branding or whatever we might want to do to it, and then it's applicable to roll off to SEMA. I'm putting my foot down right now saying I'm going to hold to this true, because it is not cool for myself and my team to be going that hard. We pushed it too much. The second I got to SEMA, I instantly got super sick because my body was completely run down. Crazy problems of waking up in the middle of the night, not knowing where I was and what's going on, because I was on such ragged, weird sleep schedules. I mean, it was just like, in 2019, we worked so many hours on the white Mustang and the single seater and the R69 GTR and the Burnt-A-Con. We brought 4 cars to SEMA that year. Sorry, that's 2021? Yeah, 2021. We spent so many hours on our feet that our feet started to fall apart. I think that was the other time that we worked this much. I should have learned the lesson. But anyways, like I said, it's always tempting. You want to bring the coolest thing for the brand, and you want to bring something that stands out, that is different, and that is out of the ordinary. This part of the reason this build was such a success at SEMA. But you also can't sacrifice the health and well-being of your team and your friends to get there. So I'm not saying we're never bringing another car to SEMA, but I am saying that there's never going to be another SEMA crunch video that I guess lasts more than 5 days. If the build isn't a roller and been done and been shown on this channel saying, all right, the build's done, we use it, or it's in storage or whatever, it's not happening. Camera angle change. I do apologize. I got somewhat sidetracked there. So we were talking about this thing was going to be a Tesla, and then it wasn't. And I guess I would sum it up by saying my desires to bring a really cool, unique, different car to SEMA overrode a little bit my common sense. I did mention I thought all this work would be very fast and very easy, and now we've learned it's not. I think an apocalypse themed car can be fast, easy, fun, just down and dirty, and you could be really creative. But although it may not look like it, like a lot of thought went into every single aspect of this. Every night that I wasn't 3D modeling, I was using game development software to take the 3D model that we had of this vehicle and digitally paint it and digitally add in different things and features and stuff like that to try and see how it would look. One of the reasons you guys never got a rendering of this car is because I didn't know how it was going to look right up until SEMA. There were concepts for numbers on the doors, for a bunch of different tags, for graffiti, for different things that in the end I didn't think fit the theme properly, and I didn't think we could have a cohesive conceptual theme, so they got left out, or they got cut from the design. Here's where the fail started coming in. My desire to build a really, really cool car for SEMA that would be eye-grabbing and attention-grabbing and everything, a bit overrode common sense, and what we should have done is build this car back to clean. Hey, the light show's going on. So the long-term game plan for this car is to build it back to a lightly modified Murcielago. I really like this car. I'm never gonna have another car where the doors go up. At least I have no financial plans to do that. I'd rather pay for my house. So the doors go up, and I love that. And as far as the cars that the doors go up in, this is my favorite one. So there's some mental gymnastics there as to why we didn't just build it clean, because I promise you, it may not look like it, but it would have been much, much easier to build this car back to clean factory, making it look like a stock Murcielago, than it would have been to do all this. But if we do that, we pull into SEMA with a stock looking Murcielago. All of you wonderful viewers would know the backstory on it, that it was very crashed, but everybody would promptly walk right by the car and not care, because anybody with a multiple 6-figure bank account can just go buy one of these and roll it up to SEMA. That would be the end of the story. It's not a very good story, in my opinion. I really hate the idea of bringing stock cars to SEMA. So now I'm sitting here with a car that has all this really cool body features on it, and I couldn't drive it home, which I'm going to jump into in a second. And for me to have this project finished, it doesn't look like this when it's done. This is not finished. This is not even close to finished, because the end plan for this car is to be a lightly modified Murcielago. So there's a lot of amazing positives going to SEMA. And one of them is all the wonderful people that you're gonna meet at the show. Lots and lots of people that build Murcielagos, deal with the early generation Lamborghinis and have dealt with the pain of Lamborghini stuff that goes on in this Lamborghini and the early Gallardos and cars before that, came up to me. They love the build, they love the idea, they love how we went outside the box, but they also lent an olive branch, lent a hand, lent some fun, whatever you want to call it, to help me get to that next stage. So right now in this car, that passenger door, if I want to replace it, which I don't know if we need to do a little bit more work on it or if it needs to be fully replaced, there isn't one for sale. But I met some people that have one. I met so many awesome people at SEMA. Thank you all for coming out to see us. The headlights, $23,000. There are alternatives, really cool alternatives that are authentic Lamborghini, but not $23,000. And they're such the B is for build way that I would have loved to do this. I'm so stoked to tell you about it. The transmission and the transmission issues, the guys at AGX, Gutter Snake, they reached out. They're happy to take the car in and look at that. And we're gonna talk about that in a second. Basically every missing piece of the puzzle for us to be able to go clean with this build has been solved. One of the coolest ones is this guy with this Murcielago, which I have had saved in my Instagram for years. This is the epitome of what I want this car to be in the end. Maybe not the exact same color, even though it is super sexy and black. He comes up to me at the show, he says, I can help you get headlights, and I see that you like these wide body front fenders. I got wide body GT3 fenders off of a Le Mans car. So at some point, this car raced in Le Mans, you know, the model, not my actual car. And he's got the fenders that come on those cars. Other content creators have rocked those fenders as well. Those are as valuable as their weight in something between gold and silver. And the cool thing about them is they have built-in headlights. So the GT3 racers, they were like, we're not gonna deal with this super expensive headlight housing that is, Lamborghini didn't design it in the best way to even hold it into the car in the first place. So it's built into the fender. You just add your light bulbs into the back of it and then you put a lens, a flat lens over the top of it, similar to what we did here, and you're ready to race. Makes it super easy to fix your headlights, repair your headlights on the track, all this great stuff. And you don't ever have to worry about the headlight coming loose from the fender and the hood alignment and all that stuff. So we've got a mint front bumper on here. We've got a line on headlights and wide body front fenders. The GT3 rear quarter panels, I got no clue, but I do know that between me, a 3D scanner, and some 3D printing, I'm only about a week away from being able to create those. I love my hood scoop. I'm not going away from my hood scoop. So whatever build I do is gonna have, I keep saying hood, roof. It's gonna have a roof scoop. I've got a clean rear bumper. I love my taillights that I designed. So because we built this car and it was so cool to so many people, I made connections at the show that are gonna help us get this car built out in the long run, the way that I always wanted to build it. But the reason for building this car back to clean is not to build equity in the car and make it worth more money so I could sell it. I never planned on selling this car, because like I said, I never plan on being able to afford another doors go up. And this is the one I would want if I could. Which leads us to the fail part of the build. And this isn't the first time that I've had this fail part of the build fail. I've built a lot of Lamborghinis. This is my fourth. I've never built one where the Lamborghini software doesn't cause reliability issues that make me hesitant to use the car or not want to use the car. There's no Lamborghini dealership or shop anywhere around me. So for instance, with my green Lamborghini, one day I had the battery on a trickle charger, I unplugged it, I plugged it back in, the soft top roof just lost its mind and says, I don't want to go back up anymore. I don't live in the best city, but I don't even think in the best city, unless maybe like in Dubai or something, are you gonna leave the top down on your Lamborghini Huracan and walk away from it. So the car became virtually useless. Like overnight, a 6-figure car just became unusable for me. Let me talk to you about the process of getting that fixed. It has to go on to transport, that has to be closed transport, enclosed transport in case it rains or anything like that, and then it has to go to somebody that has the Lamborghini computers and software, be it a Lamborghini shop or a standalone shop like AGX or Jamie's Garage's shop. My friend Jamie bought so many damn shops, I can't remember the name. I'll put it right here. So there are shops. They're not close. It's a 1,000-mile tow. It's $2,000 each way. That's how much it costs to move these cars around. For this one, since it's widened, it has to be a specialty wide load transport. I spent $4,000 just to ship this car to SEMA and back. So stupid Lamborghini stuff broke my green Lamborghini. Don't worry, I've got a plan to override the soft top controls and I will execute on that plan as soon as I have time. And here comes the big fail on this build. Stupid Lamborghini stuff. Got pissed off about a clutch. The clutch works. It's software and calibration. We drove this car. We test drove this car. I went through the gears. I had gear indication and everything worked well and fine. And the car was happy. and it drove great. And I had the confidence to bring it back into my shop and finish building it for 2 months, put I don't know how many hours into it, just for us to, one of the times we're pulling it out of the shop and coming back, I realized, oh, I don't have a gear indicator anymore. And I didn't think much of it because the car still worked. You can't plug this car into a standard OBD2 port. You can't read codes. I mean, it has an OBD2 port, but none of the code readers can read it because it's a proprietary software stuff. So I can't tell what the car is mad about. Nearly impossible to troubleshoot. Older Lamborghinis especially are just built so much around this gate-kept software and that terrible clutch design that it makes this car impossible for somebody like me to work on my own car. And I'm obviously a work on my own car type of guy. So the clutch goes into limp mode. I pull it out of SEMA. I have no idea that this is about to happen, but I guess the clutch had been in limp mode for a while. I pull it out of SEMA, I get on the road, I start driving down the road, I go to pull for third gear. I have no gear indicator, but I can feel which gear I'm in. So rev out first, hit second, revving out in second, go to hit third. I've got no third gear. The car will not go into third gear. So I obviously can't drive it at the highway at that point, and here we are. So what has to happen to fix that? Transport to Lamborghini shop, clutch calibration, maybe fluid top up. You tell the computer exactly how much pressure it's gotten, how much it has to actuate servos to apply that pressure to the clutch, and then it does its magic. And in the end, it is well understood that these cars still drive like a hunk of crap when they are automatic. Fail. Big fail. This rewinds me back to why I originally wanted to put a Tesla Model 3 underneath this. I didn't want to deal with this crap. I didn't want to deal with spending so much time building such a cool car and not being able to drive it, and not being able to drive it reliably. My SEMA build for the year before this, my Mustang, I fire that baby up and I have fun every time I get in that car. That's how these cars should be. I put so many miles on that Mustang. Anyways, the biggest fail on this build doesn't happen to be something that we did. It might have been, in theory, a mistake that I made in not noticing that I lost gear indicator, but it's just that Lamborghini's older software, they're much better now that they're part of Volkswagen, Audi Group, everything, but their older software is gatekeeping me out of messing with my own car, recalibrating my own clutch, and doing other stuff like that. Now, a lot of people are gonna say, hey, just switch it to a manual. Manual for this car is it's a $45,000 kit. There's a company out there that sells it. If they were to cut me a deal, it would be a possibility. Then I'm still dealing with an ECU that I can't diagnose, can't work on it, can't do anything as far as the rest of the car's brain, but at least it would remove the terrible e-gear clutch system that this car has. I've driven other cars where people say, oh, it's really bad, like the M5. They're saying, oh, that's a bad clutch system or this or that. No, this takes the cake. So this engine is worth $30,000 just the long block. You add in the intake manifold and other stuff, it's a little over $30,000, especially because I can prove it runs really well. The transmission is worth a little shy of $10,000. ECUs, wiring harnesses, sensors, all the other stuff. If you sell it slowly, not in a package, probably could pull another $10,000 out of that. About a $50,000 plus package of powertrain sitting in this vehicle. To be honest with you, I don't like. Yes, V12s make cool sounds, but you can make other engines make cool sounds, or you can build other V12s. So that's where I'm stuck with on this build right now. It's very embarrassing. It's wildly embarrassing to say that this car works perfectly and mechanically it's very sound, but because of software, it doesn't work, and I don't have any plans to make it fully work right now because I don't know what the next steps are for this build. I could sell the engine and transmission. You know I bought this car for $30,000. So I could sell the engine, I could sell the transmission, I could sell all that stuff. I could put in my own LS, I could put in an electric drivetrain, I could put in any other fun engine transmission combo and have a reliable, amazing looking car. And again, yeah, that would lower the value of the car. If I put this thing back to stock and I freshen up the engine and transmission and send it off to the shops and do that stuff, it's probably a $150,000, $160,000 car minimum, even with its salvage title. But like I said, I'm keeping this car. So the decision has to be made as far as what I'm gonna do with that. The easy decision is go LS with an Audi transmission. I can keep all-wheel drive. I'm probably gonna be limited around 500-ish horsepower before I blow up the transmission. But again, this car only has 500 horsepower, so it's a pretty good match. Have a manual transmission, and have full control over my Lamborghini. A lot of you guys are gonna say, didn't you guys do this before the Burnt Con? And yeah, that's why the Burnt Con just works, like all the time. I know a lot of you guys missed when we took it drag racing, but gave Cletus the keys, fired it up, he dialed in the tune a little bit, again, because the software is so easily changeable, went and ripped the world record for manual Huracan in a drag race. So in my mind right now, it's keep the V12 and do a manual swap and deal with whatever may come in the future from the Lamborghini computers around the ECU and the engine side of things, or it's an engine swap. Let me know in the comments below kind of what you're thinking. And I've got a very interesting, cool twist to this story. I met another guy at SEMA, and he has, for legal reasons, I'm gonna word this very carefully, a collection of replicated Lamborghini body parts. You know, backup panels since the company doesn't make them anymore. They're all together right now in the shape of a Lamborghini Murcielago LP640. And I have extras, everything to do to make it a really, really cool themed cyberpunk style Lamborghini LP640. And I have the perfect powertrain for it. Tesla Model 3 Performance, all-wheel drive, 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. Now, yeah, we said, we're not sure if this is gonna fit well enough that we wanna do this to a $200,000 car, but am I sure it's gonna fit well enough that I'll do it to a pile of fiberglass body parts? I'm down to take a swing at that shot, that ball. Okay, my baseball references might be off, but that's very interesting to me. Because for this car to go back to clean, it means that we have an extra set of over fenders, rear over fenders, front over fenders, rear spoilers, roof scoops. Every single thing that we did on this car, we basically have it available right here, and it would not go to waste. It wouldn't just get cut off and thrown in the bin. It could actually be used to keep this really, really cool, really unique build and car alive, but on a less valuable carcass. It sounds very exciting to me. I love the way that this car looks. The visuals of this car are a big win, but I gotta have the clean version as well. But it's starting to look like I could have both. Food for thought, thought for food. I know a lot of you guys are gonna want me to keep that V12, and I do think it's cool, but at some point you just have to say, like, how much pain am I willing to go through to, it's not to keep the power, because I can easily make more power more reliably. It really all just comes down to the sound. And there are a lot of ways to make other engines, get other engines, or do other things with other engines that sound just as unique or just as fun. Ask Rob Dahm. His rotary engines and Mad Mike, some of the coolest engines I've ever heard in my life. And there's a lot of other options too. So let me know in the comments, guys. Believe it or not, what you guys say down there is gonna have a lot of bearing on what happens next with this build as far as the powertrain. So this story is far from done. It's gonna continue evolving. But for SEMA, that is how you succeed at SEMA and fail on rebuilding your Lamborghini Murcielago. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe so you'll know when we jump back into this or these builds. These things might be reproducing. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. I'll see you on the next one. Peace!